Let's talk Cavs, because as someone who watches a lot of games, as you probably know, as a fellow Cavs fan here in Cleveland, there's a lot of troubling with this team right now.
What do you see?
Well, of course, I agree with you on a couple of points. The defensive rebounding has not been great. They've been giving up a lot of second chance opportunities, especially if you go back and watch that game against Sacramento. I mean, it was just horrendous. That third quarter, you have Jared Allen and Mobley tipping out to hoping that the guards are there to pick up the ball.
I saw
but
that.
A lot of times, the guards aren't there.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, you gotta
just grab the rebound.
You coach this from a young age. When you want to rebound, you have to get it with two hands.
Exactly.
And squeeze it and possess it, and then you're pushing up the floor, you're getting it to your wings or whatever. Tips don't always work. Tips are last resort. You can't get the rebound, right?
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. And it's really frustrating when you're watching them play, and they play really good defense for 15, 17 seconds on shot clock, and then, like you said, that last rotation, they miss it. They let up that corner
all
three.
For nothing, right?
It's all for nothing.
All for nothing.
And I listen to the radio when I drive to school in the morning, and you have a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's fine. They had a really bad scheduling issue. It's back to back. They're tired." I don't care about that. I understand that, but scheduling happens for everybody. You're gonna play back to backs. You're gonna have a hard West Coast trip.
Yeah, I don't like the excuses either. And
exactly.
Every team is subjected to the same scheduling things.
And my biggest problem with them heading into the postseason is their bad starts.
You mean the start of games?
They get off. If you every time I've watched the Cavs, at least lately, before the All-Star break, they were a lot better. Let's go back to Thursday night against the Knicks on national television.
Yeah, the first
horrendously slow.
I would say the first quarter, and then actually into the second quarter, it was getting kind of rough. They closed out the second quarter, I think, much better, and then the third quarter was nice, and they stretched the lead. And I get it. Mm-hmm.
Correct. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Actually, what's a better example? The Pistons game. The last time they played the Pistons in Detroit.
Yeah,
that's a great. They fell behind early against a really good, scrappy Pistons team with a good. Now that knows who has been coached to play really good defense. JB has done a great job coming in there, implementing defensive coaching, and you can see it. They scrap for every board. And one thing that Pistons did really well against the Cavs is pressing them full court. Every time one of our guards got the ball, you could just see either Cade or Beasley or what's that one?
Was Ty Jerome out? I think he was out that game, right?
Was he out that game? Okay,
I think
just
so
in
too.
general, they get on our guards, and you can tell that that's really.
So where that comes from, Spencer?
Turnovers against the Magic too. They had that.
That's exactly where I was going.
3 in a row.
That's exactly where I was going. So they see the tape. Teams watched what Orlando did to us, and they said, "Okay, well, what did Orlando do that really threw the Cavs off?" Because the Magic were losing. The Magic, I think, were down double digits at one point.
They were.
They eliminated and reduced the lead completely, and erased the lead through pressure. They made life uncomfortable and unbearable for a guy like Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, and I'm not sure if Ty Jerome played that game. I think he did, but
he did.
After Ty Jerome went down with his injury, you now lost a guy who comes off the bench and scores for you and creates offense. Mm-hmm. He's a good decision maker, and he's a really effective player. So you're limited in what you could do now on your second line. So now that makes your job harder on Donovan Mitchell, who has to play more minutes, do more offensively. Darius Garland, I'd say offensively, he hasn't been playing as well as he did the first half of the year. So there's a little bit of that too.
Mm-hmm.
But to be honest with you, Spence, I think teams have watched the Cavs. I think the Cavs aren't as offensively efficient as they were to start the year. I think defensively they've fallen off a little bit. And we're starting to see certain guys, they're turning into pumpkins. Dean Wade, since he came back from injury, has done nothing, right? Sam Merrill has cooled off completely.
Oh, that hurts me.
But not all hope is lost. DeAndre Hunter is playing better.
Great.
And he was playing very good coming from Atlanta. So those minutes that Max Strus has been loaded up with, you probably have to pull back some of those minutes and just give him to DeAndre Hunter. I think what Kenny Atkinson is doing, though, because he's trying to play chess. He doesn't want to show his hand too early. He doesn't want to show everything to everybody that he wants to do in the playoffs.
True.
And I think part of that is making sure DeAndre Hunter is fresh, because DeAndre Hunter is going to be tasked with defending the other team's best scorer that's not a big.
Yes.
So you're going to be seeing DeAndre Hunter guarding guys like Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown.
Yeah,
you're going to, especially Jason Tatum, and you're going to be seeing him on Cade, and you're going to be and you're going to see Max Strus in stretches too. Just to be clear about this, Kenny Atkinson loves and trusts Max Strus. All you have to do is, if you want to know what a coach thinks of his players, see who's in at the end of the game. See who's playing in the last 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes. You learn everything you need to know about who he trusts. I think DeAndre Hunter is one of those guys. Max Strus is still one of those guys, but I think the offense is best when DeAndre Hunter is in the game. I think he allows you to do a lot more.
I actually have a good question for you with that. In the final 5 minutes in a postseason game, do you want Allen or Strus? Do you want the shooting or do you want the big man in there?
I want the shooting. Because I can keep Mobley in the game as the center.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, so I don't have to have two centers. I mean, what team in the NBA requires you to have two centers in the game?
That's what I say. I always liked having, and they've tried it this year. They've put Allen out for the last 5 minutes, and they go Hunter, Mobley, Strus, and then the shooting is just now you have 5 shooters. Everyone can shoot.
I think with certain matchups you can experiment. I think with certain matchups you could try different stuff. They've tried this zone defense throughout the season, where they've put Jared Allen at the top.
Oh yeah.
You know, like I've seen some really creative and unique things, some experimental stuff. And I'm not one to question an NBA coach. I don't know better than they do. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to sit there and pretend like I know something they don't. But I mean, I have seen them experiment, and some stuff I think has not worked. But you don't know
it's not worked.
But you don't know it doesn't work until you try it. So I think that's kind of what he's been doing, is he's been looking to add wrinkles. He's been trying to get guys into situations where you can kind of see what they can and can't do. And I think that's all kind of part of it. And you know, it's the journey of a long season. There have been some games where I'm just like, man, what a terrible game. Cavs could have had the win. Why the hell were they in that zone? Why did that rotation happen? Like, what's going on there? But you have to think to yourself as a fan, you trust in what Kenny Atkinson has done to this point. You don't bail on that now. This is the same guy that replaced J.D. Bickerstaff and completely turned everything around. Like, he's proving the GM correct.
Well,
you know, the roster decisions, and then with the coaching, he's showing. Is it Kobe Altman? Is that his name?
Yeah, Kobe Altman. That's correct.
Looks like a genius.
Yeah, he could win. He could win Executive of the Year just for that move.
He probably will. DeAndre Hunter, you know, those guys, like, he's made all the right calls. Like, they boosted the team even throughout the year.
All right, I'll end with 2 things. And there's 2 concerns I have as a fan going into the postseason. Number 1 is just what I was talking about, the slow starts. You can't fall behind 20 points in a postseason game and do the whole Avalanche thing and come back. Yes, it works in the regular season, but I'm sick and tired going down, especially in that one game against Boston, 22 points, and expect for you to come back. That's number 1. And number 2, you got to be more physical. I always say it. I think every year it happens, especially with Ty Jerome. He does that little delayed step in the lane with that floater. He loves to get to that floater. But in the postseason, they're going to allow guys to bump him a little bit more, and he's got to take that bump and finish that floater. That floater is one of his most used move. He goes to that delayed Euro step, slows down, and shoots that floater, and usually can draw contact. But in the postseason, they're going to let that contact go, and he's got to learn how to finish through that contact. Mobley's got to step up in the postseason. Garland, they all do. And until they do it, everyone's just going to say it. But those are the 2 big things they got to do to hopefully get past Boston and